I guess you're going to find out exactly what you're made of down the stretch here.
Well, I am, guys, and I kind of know most of what we're made of. It's been a strange year for us, but it's been good considering what some of these guys have gone through, and at the same time, our league, as you guys know, is off the charts. So you get a chance to, you don't get much of a chance to rest, but if you've struggled a little bit like we did in the middle, you get a chance to make up for it because you're going to play quality teams, especially what we got now down the stretch.
Tom, listen, you've been around this game a long time. How do you kind of explain overall the year where top teams just are losing, not holding on to top spots? We don't have any of those top 2 or 3 dominant teams. Everybody's kind of taking turns at this point.
Well, I think it's easy for me. I think that we're all playing a lot more young guys in general, and the reason we're playing more young guys or inexperienced guys is, everybody's going, a lot of guys going pro, and some that maybe shouldn't. But when guys are transferring like they are, I don't think they have both feet in, and I think you're getting a lot more, or if they are transferring, then coaches are stuck with not being able to, having to play freshmen. And freshmen in any sport, football, basketball, and any other sport, they're going to make mistakes, especially freshmen that aren't the elite of the elite. But as we're seeing even with Duke, even the elite of the elite, sometimes those guys struggle. And I think that has a big reason, playing so many young guys because of transfer, because of guys leaving early.
I'm talking to Tom Izzo, Michigan State head coach, with us, Golic Wingo, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. How different is it for coaches to coach the younger players? Do you have to kind of turn around, bite your lip, and count to 10 a little more and be a little more patient? Is it different than how different is it than coaching the older guys?
Well, for me, we've been a little bit more like Villanova, where, as Jay Wright says, we just want to keep getting old. We get some great players. I mean, we've had the Jaren Jacksons and Miles Bridges that have left early, and that was all good. I mean, it was the right thing, and it was the right guys. But for the most part, we're getting guys that are 3- and 4-year guys. And when you have a 3- and 4-year guy, they grow. There is a process. The world today does not want to have a process. So it's really difficult if you're not getting the Duke, Kentucky, but I get a lot of respect for both Duke and Kentucky because even the superstars are still freshmen, and freshmen are going to make freshman mistakes, and so you're going to have a little more ups and downs than maybe you like. When we won the national championship, it was, Morris Peterson, a redshirt junior, Cleaves, a senior, and we sprinkled in a Jason Richardson as a freshman, but he didn't have to be the marquee player. And I think that's what Villanova's done a great job of, and maybe why it's been a little more difficult for the Dukes and Kentuckys to get back to Final Fours. But I have more respect, as I've had to play a ton of freshmen this year. I have more respect for Duke and Kentucky than I ever had because they do it so well, and yet, have to deal with that.
Tom Izzo with us this morning as Michigan State took down Iowa last night 78-70. And you mentioned you're playing more freshmen than ever, but you're counting on that one senior to carry you through, and that, of course, is Cassius Winston. Cassius had 1 point in the first half and then turned it on with 19 of his 20 in the second half to lead you guys. How much is he going to be the deciding factor in what you guys are going to be going forward?
Well, I don't think there's any question. Like a good quarterback in football, how much does Burrow have to do with them, or Tua have to do with Alabama? The guy at Ohio State. I mean, it's the same. And Cash has been through a lot this year, as everybody knows, and hasn't been as consistent. But last year, I think Mike Krzyzewski said to me after we beat him, I said, man, I don't know how we're gonna beat the next team because we just weren't necessarily great. He laughed and said, just put it in Winston's hands. And that's what we did a lot. And it wasn't like he scored as many points as he made other people better. This year, it's been a little more difficult on him with all he's been through. And sometimes, he has moments when it's just been very hard on him to moment just because of what he went through. So I still think we're going to go as he goes. But last night was a perfect example of two different halves when he didn't seem himself in the first, and that was probably the best second half he's had in months.
Tom Izzo with us, and Tom, we're in the last week of February, which means March is around the corner, and then March Madness. And we always say this when the tournament starts. We love the upsets. We love the upsets in the first couple of rounds until we want to see the Blue Bloods come through and brand names that we know play in the Elite Eight and play in the Final Four and play for the national championship. But this year, as Mike alluded to earlier, it seems like a lot of the Blue Bloods that were up high got knocked down early. So I guess as someone who's been one of those Blue Bloods for a long time at Michigan State, is it good for college basketball for there to be so much upheaval and not have a real sure sense of whoever the national champion is going to be this year?
You ready for my answer?
Yeah.
Hell no. Not if you're one of us. Hell no. But if you're in the media, if you're a fan, if you're me watching other teams, I do the same thing. I love that Thursday of March Madness when they, there's always a 5-12 getting beat. There's always some upsets, but then again, Middle Tennessee, a 15 seed, did it to us. They did it to Duke. Then it's not as much fun, guys. I promise you that. But at the same time, I think it's, I think it is just what you said. It's such an excitement. It's so different than football. That's the one area that's really different. You're going to get the best four teams at the end, and in basketball, you're not. But I think as much as people want the upsets, when it gets down the stretch.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports and analysis, download the ESPN app, and live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.